We alive. Good evening, family and friends. We have something real exciting, a real good treat for you guys. We have Mazda, and we have Khalif as our guest for today. The topic is DNA of a leader. So I've been working on this, getting my thing together. Now it's gonna be a treat. We're gonna start with Mazda. When I say DNA of a leader, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Okay, so for me, there is a prerequisite of uh, for a leader before we even get to, um, I guess, how you can be an effective leader. And for me, that's character,
Okay.
because your character, if you can imagine, say, a dip of paint, that color is in everything that you do as a leader. And I think sometimes it's often missed because I mean we can run down what makes a good leader, what and there's this honesty, right? There's the ability to empathize, there's the ability to sympathize, there's accountability, there's all these list of things that can make a good leader, and all of that really, when you sum it up, is your character, um, because that's usually what is tested when there's conflict, right? When something doesn't go your way or the way it was planned, it's usually your character that navigates throughout whatever situation or occurrence that has happened. And so for me, the DNA of a good leader is the person's character. And that usually leads in everything that they do as a leader.
Okay. Khalif.
It was interesting because Mazda immediately clarified by adding good. Leader doesn't necessarily assume good nor positive intent. Um, but I think it's necessary if to be qualified as a good leader to have high character. But David Koresh was a leader. Hitler was a leader, right? Martin Luther King was a leader. Leadership can come in many forms and doesn't, like, again, assume positive or negative intent. However, I think to be an effective leader, one must have sound character. One must have sound morals. Um, I think that's an appropriate foundation, an appropriate place to start, as Mother sort of laid out there.
All right. I have something for you guys. We we all have families, so for when we start as a leader towards our family, leadership first test is our family, and it's the first test that we must pass to become a leader because our family looks up to us. If we have children, they look up to us. So to be a strong leader, you must be able to teach them in a way what you have learned, you know, in life. It's like you cannot teach until you have learned. You have not truly learned until you have lived. You must live before you can give.
100%.
I would jump in there. I would say, yeah, leadership begins with observation. It began, and certainly not necessarily in. If you want to start in the home, it's in the home as a child. It's what you're seeing, what you're observing, what you're exposed to, whether it be good or bad. And you might not have the wherewithal at that time to divide what's good or bad, but over time, based on what you observe and how you're morally steeped, you begin to divide what path, and you begin to uh, have a vision for yourself and have an understanding of purpose, have an understanding of what it is that you want to accomplish and what it is that you were or are designed to accomplish. Um, and in all that observation, in that preparation, in that learning, if you took the time and search within yourself to find out who you are and what it is that you're designed to do, that those things would be unlocked, that your purpose would be unlocked after you've learned and after you begin to activate what you've learned in a leadership space.
A quick question for you guys. When I say stewardship, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? Stewardship.
People. I think of people. Everything that you guys have said is beautiful. It is so true. But stewardship is exactly how I kind of looked at it, as we learn through the experience of people, because you learn the characters of others. You have to, know how to deal with other people in different situations, when they're angry, when they're happy, or when they're lazy, or when they're productive. There's different ways of communicating to people. So stewardship is, in my mind, a way of dealing with people that is beneficial to both of them, us together, as, dealing with another person. So that stewardship, when you're giving yourself to learn how to have patience and all the good characteristics of a leader.
Khalif?
I would say, I agree. It's certainly about people, certainly about what you do with the resources given, how you give back, how you pay it forward after you've done the work, after you've gotten in touch with who you are and your purpose and what the goals are that you want to accomplish. That when you see someone else that is in a similar space or could use that hand, and are you a good steward with the resource that you've been given, the money, the intellectual? Uh, are you paying it for it? Are you investing in those that are behind you, which is foundational to leadership?
Maza?
I think it when I think of stewardship, I think of kind of thought to action, right? I think of application. You've taken all these things, all these qualities of a leader, and then at some point, whether it be in home or at the job or in the community, at some point there's a job that needs to be done, right? And so when I think of leadership, I always think of, for the most part, four things for me. And I think this goes into the stewardship aspect of it. Is there's all these things that I have to learn and I have to be good at as a leader. Then I need to apply it to establish four things within the organization or the home. And that's: one, is there growth that takes place? Is there development that takes place? Is this a safe atmosphere? And operations, how does it all function? And so when I think of stewardship, I think of now how all the skill sets that I have, how that impacts the business, how that impacts the people that essentially work for me. And so I think the stewardship is the connection between your skill set and what you know to believe is true, and how it influences and it impacts the business and the people that essentially work for you. Right. And I think sometimes that's a part, like Tanika was saying, you know, there's, if you take a mechanic, for instance, and a mechanic will go to school or will study a certain skill set, but that's only going to take you but so far, right? When you think of mechanic, it's like, well, what do you work on the most? Well, I study cars because that's my job. I work on cars. And so for a leader, the best thing you can spend your time is studying people, because no matter what skill set you learn, it influences and has an impact on someone or a group of someone's per se, right? Every decision I make at work impacts someone. All the results and the numbers, I can't get any of that until it makes an impact on someone. And so the stewardship aspect of it is putting it all together and now bringing influence to what's bigger than you and what you know how to do.
So, okay. I just want to add to what you guys said. So, when I look at stewardship, I'm looking at strands of generosity, communication, cooperation, you know, uh, dedication, sacrifice. These are some of the things that comes with stewardship, because, like you said, you know, you have to sacrifice sometimes your time. You have to communicate with the people that you're around. Also, communication is key, and cooperation. Sometimes you have to cooperate with a group of people that you don't want to, but you're obligated to do that because that's part of who you are far as a leader. Sometimes as leaders we have to make sacrifices. We have to be good in communication so we can be able to lead other people to what they need to be or be successful in. You know, that's part of stewardship. I just want to add, everybody said something great. I just wanted to add that to it because that's stewardship is part of being a leader. I mean, I feel like a great leader would be able to, sacrifice, their time to show them that they're willing to get out there and do whatever it takes to be successful, to help the group, to help the families or the children. So that's just when I say stewardship, that's what I'm talking about. Not saying nobody was wrong or anything. I just want to say this. I want to give you guys an example, like what you said, Mazda. How can you teach a person how to swim and you don't know how to swim?
Are you asking us?
Right.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
saying, yeah. How can you? It's pertaining to being a leader. How
Yeah.
can you lead if you never were taught or even tried to learn how to be a leader? If that, because I'll put it like this: is everybody supposed to be a leader? Is everyone supposed to be a leader?
So for me, I think there are two different types of leaders or leadership. There are conscious and unconscious leaders, right? There's direct and indirect leadership. And I think everyone across the board, either you're a conscious leader, right? That is your position, that is what you do, that is a part of your job title. And then there's the unconscious leader with the belief and understanding that someone is always watching. And so whether you realize that or whether you walk that walk, it is true because someone is always watching, and your actions will, whether consciously or unconsciously, validate someone else's. And so that's how I teach my staff. That's to make sure that to teach character, we're always doing the right things, because I may be not in a leadership position and not realizing that someone that may be in a lower position, or maybe someone that doesn't even have the job or is watching me, and my actions will validate theirs. And so I think everyone is a leader in some form of way. But to go on your original question of, if I don't know how to swim, can I teach someone how to swim? I think you can, as far as the logistics of it. I think understanding the role and the complexities of it makes it easier to teach, because we're all students of the game, whatever game that is. I think sometimes it's easier to get the buy-in when you have experienced that position or whatever else that there is. Can I be and say not a performer, but can I teach someone how to sing? Yeah, I can, because I know the components and I know the ins and outs of how the instrument works. But they may have a question that I cannot answer. But my job as a leader is to get them the answer. And I think that's the difference of leadership, is that I'm not going to have all the answers. My job is to make sure you're educated, whether that comes from me or come from someone I recommend you go to. My job is to ensure that you become better. And that in turn makes me a better leader. Because my job is not to be the master of your position. My job is to make sure you are the master of your position.
Well said.
I think that's a great point.
Yes, yes. What you say, Khalid?
I just said that was a great point.
Yep.
Yes, it was. It was.
Hey, listen, no need to even add to it. Brother dropped the hammer on that.
Yes, he did. He did.
Somebody made a comment, says, well, I look at stewardship or being leader, they must understand their abilities, gifts, and responsibilities. They don't try to outshine others. Instead, they work with others and make them better. Somebody made a comment. That's why I was just reading the comment.
Hmm.
Um now on now as we were talking, I just wanted to, go on because we all are believers, so I can talk to you guys as believers. Um, there is a personal relationship that requires in leadership, and that is having a personal relationship with God. And your personal relationship is how you communicate with God, your consecration, your commission, and that will, you know, put you in a place where you'll understand and have discernment of how to deal with certain individuals as a leader. Because I feel like we're standing here, we are leaders. I am a husband, Khalif is a husband, and Maza is a husband, and Tanika is
A
she's
woman.
not married. See what you at?
A woman.
A woman. Okay, I'll take that. A woman. But you know, as leaders, I feel like that's key to us being leaders. And that's a private and personal relationship. That does not mean that you have to take that with your group or your church. It's personal. And when it's personal, then you'll be able to take it public. And there are certain things you can take public when you have a personal relationship with God. You know what I'm saying? And that's where the stewardship comes in at. The stewardship comes in, you know, first it's the altar, that's your personal relationship, and then your stewardship is something that God will lay on your heart, so you'll be able to give the people that you're teaching or you're leading. And especially for me, it's my family. So as I the way I carry myself, the way I speak, and how I treat people is what they see when I walk or how I talk, and how I address certain situations. And I feel like, as me speaking about this, it's like if I didn't have that relationship, I wouldn't transform into the man that I am today. I wouldn't be able to do these things that I'm doing right now because it's because of the relationship. And that relationship has allowed me to get on this platform and speak like this because I want to share. And I understand that it's personal. Everybody have their own beliefs, but it's truly something that grows on you. And when it grows on you, it doesn't grow on you like weeds. It grows on you like flowers, a beautiful flower. I say that because you know there's something inside of you that's it's so much joy. I said this before, so I don't want to keep on going on. It's not about me. It's about you guys because this is about leadership. And I just wanted to share that with you guys. um so Khalif, I do have a question for you.
Okay.
All right. As a leader, right,
Mm.
can you map out some of the things that you as a leader you had to conquer and accomplish?
Ego, in full disclosure, ego. In a younger version of myself, um, in corporate world, um, I at a time put personal goals. I put them paramount. Um, and ego has its place, and ego carried my career for a while. But you spoke of family. It was my wife that, as a mirror for me, uh, as she was on her corporate journey and had great success and is having great success in her career. Um, we held the mirror up to one another, and she showed me, certain things that were unsavory, and that accomplishing a goal or a task at any cost um, wasn't beneficial not only to the organization but to myself and my spirit and my soul. So that was one of those sort of eye-opening journeys that had me explore what it is to be most effective. Am I trying to advance my agenda? Or is it, am I understanding the collective goal here and wanting to bring everyone with and wanting those on the team to be their best um, as well? So yeah, without diving completely into it, just having that mirror and having someone who I trusted, someone who had influence with me to say, hey, you're doing great, but you could take a look at this and you could do a little bit better in this department.
Okay.
And she had influence, and taking her word and making some of those adjustments, I think made me a better leader and a better man.
Maza?
Um, it's funny because I recently, this has kind of been the narrative, I would say, for about the past 6 months, because I recently took uh, a new position as music director at the church I attend. Um, and I think, um, to kind of spin off of what Khalif, and pardon me if I'm mispronouncing,
You good? All good.
um, okay, is I think as a leader, there's a fine line that we walk every single day. And it's so easy to say I more than we. And it's so easy
Mm,
to be egotistical and
mm,
to be overconfident to the point of arrogance. Because when, as a leader, when we are good at our job and good at the assignment, then we do get the results and people do praise us. And it's not a position that's held by multiple people. It's a position that's held by one person. And so it's constantly having to reflect, and it's constantly having to bring yourself down and humble yourself, and understanding the effectiveness of team and taking this position. This was not only a new position, but it was also a new church family where I knew the pastor, I knew the pastor's wife because they were good friends of mine. And then that was kind of it. And I didn't know anyone else. And I'm going into this position of leadership where my job is to influence and my job is to lead and my job is to make an impact. And I don't have any relationships. And as any leader knows, the relationships you establish within your given space is the foundation of what you're able to do. And so the challenge is to get results and to build this ministry without having these relationships already established. And so a lot of the work that I'm doing every Tuesday rehearsal and every Sunday morning, it's building those relationships that will make everything easier. It'll make progress easier. It'll make conflict easier. It'll make, all the other egos that you have to deal with, not only your own ego, but the ego of this person, right? Because everyone they want to do this and they want to do that. And the more you invest in the people, you have to kind of see it of kind of like an account, right? That earns interest. The more you put in, the more you get out, right? But also the more you put in, when something does go wrong in that space, you're able to dip into that relationship that you've already invested in and established, and you're able to resolve conflict easier. Um, because that's often the challenge in a leadership position. You got the role because you have a certain amount of skill and you can get the job done. But a lot of the conflict, like Tanika was saying earlier, it's the people. It's the relationships that you build, the relationships that may be toxic, the two people that don't get along, and now it's up to you to resolve that conflict. That's the challenging part. Whether it's new position, old position, you've had it for a while, that's usually where the conflict arrives. It's in the people. And the more you put it into the people, the better results you'll just naturally get. That's not going to say it's going to make it easy, but it does make it easier to navigate through. So for me, that's been the challenge, but also the joy is all the relationships that you make along that journey, and you establish and you start to build that morale and you start to build that trust. And so when there is change to come, because I'm a believer in people don't like change, people like people. The more you're able to establish those relationships and the more you invest in the people, then you're able to overcome those challenges that will just inevitably come.
Tadiq, you want to say something?
I do. So, talking about the ego, talking about spirit, talking about all that. I look at it as good and bad. A successful leader, doing what they should do morally or not doing it. But have we ever considered the reluctant leader? I have heard so many times about a good leader, but those good leaders sometimes don't want to be a leader. They, are the ones that just say, my ego's not that big that I want to put myself out there to lead and, put everybody in a position to, do whatever the outcome, whatever it's supposed to be. There are people like myself that do not, I am a type of person that, I have an ego, of course, but it's not so much that I'm like, oh, me. And I'm not going to always be the one to say I want to do it because I don't, put me as a last person, but they'll say, but you're actually good at it. And I'm okay, but because I'm reluctant on it. So what do you think when a person does not, because this is for me, okay? I know this is for me because I have not put myself in positions that I possibly know that would be very good for me because of something. Now, this something is not, please understand, it's not anything that has to do with loving myself. The spirit is always with me. I am guided every day. But I do not choose to be that leader in life that, people, because that's responsibility. And, who really wants a lot of responsibility? Who does? I'm just saying. But the reluctant leaders are out there. That's my point. So what do you guys say about it?
I relate to that. I relate to that. At a time, and depending on what we're talking about, there are things that I was born to do. I'm a designer. When it comes to the visual arts, sign me up. I'm comfortable with being in front, completely confident, and could wax poetic for days about a goal and set a plan and have gotten results over and over again. Now take me out of the creative realm and I become that reluctant leader, that one that break glass only in emergency kind of leader. But even in those situations where over time, I'd say I've learned to grow comfortable with being uncomfortable. And some of the foundational principles of leadership are transferable outside of the skills that are in my sweet spot, which is the visual arts. So, over time, I've gotten comfortable with being uncomfortable and started to step into leadership roles and run to them in some cases. It's about growth. It's not it's not a thing where you arrive and you're a leader and it's perfected. You continue to grow. It's organic. Your person that you react to your personnel and the needs of your personnel and the circumstances of personnel your business structure or entity and in their personal lives. It's a high wire act, a juggling fiery knives on a high wire act sometimes. But it's a journey.
It is.
Maza?
I guess I have a question.
Oh,
Is it a point where you're asking yourself, why me?
No, I know why me. I mean,
Hmm.
I mean,
Or
Chef.
do you not think you're like qualified to fulfill the role?
Let me say this: Chef Dennis put me out of my comfort zone. This is something I'm not used to doing.
Oh, you gotta put me out.
Yes, he put
It's
me.
your fault.
Yes. So this
You
this
gotta
is
throw me under the bus.
I accept things as they come to me. Okay.
Mhm.
So I love it because it's a beautiful thing. I feel like that's how spirit works for me. So, but I do know that the things I say are said with spirit in mind. And so I say things that can really help. But it is great responsibility, when you say things that are helpful, and I don't really want to do much. I just want to live and have a good life, and but I don't want to put myself to be in charge of anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am not trying too hard, or I am not, that's just me. That's what makes me reluctant, because I'm not like everybody else. Like, everybody else is like gung ho, go get it, we
Yeah.
about to make that money, that type of attitude, or have a whole bunch of people, in their social media. Everything is just blown up, and it's about self. I don't want to be that. I do put myself in that, back corner
Yeah.
behind the curtain type. I've always
Yeah.
been that way, though.
And
Always,
so
always.
I as a leader, I say I love it because I think that goes back to what I said earlier, where you have the conscious leader and the unconscious leader. There, I seek out people who don't necessarily want to be in the limelight of that position, but has that natural influence that speaks wisdom. Because in order for a leader to be effective in their role, they need Tanikas. They need someone who's going to influence the body, because I can't do it, or anyone can't do it by themselves. You have to have a voice. You have to have the people in the midst of it that's going to influence, say, the ones that may doubt, that might be comfortable with the change that's being trying to be implemented. And so I would say everyone, there's a word that is such a nasty word to a lot of people, but I use it often, and that's obedience. And I think people need to be obedient in their role, in the role that they fulfill, and do it well. Because I believe that you in that position, you succeed in that position because leaders need individuals in that position. They need the one that's going to say, no, you know what? How about this? Because the ideas that you're coming up with, the wisdom that you're verbalizing, may not come from the leader, because leaders don't have all the answers. They need that wisdom in the audience. They need that validation in the audience. And I say that that's a gift. That's a role that it sounds like you succeed in. Keep fulfilling your role, because
Okay,
everyone, you got to have, in order for a teacher to be effective, there's got to be students in the room.
right.
And within your students in the room, there are trainers in the room. And within trainers in the room, there's your students that just shine. And if there's no students, there ain't no teacher. Where you got to have that. And so I don't think you should feel bad at, unless you feel, as a believer, you feel that's where God wants you to be, but you haven't accepted that gift yet. But if it's the contrary, then keep fulfilling that role, because it's necessary for the vision.
You
Thank
want
you.
to say
Thank you
that?
both.
You want to say something, Tanika?
I appreciate it, both of you.
Oh,
I'm going to take that to heart. I'm going to, walk in that, because the obedience thing is what I felt like I was doing when Chef asked me to be a part of this. I couldn't say no, but it's not me. I am not a person that likes to be on camera. I don't have social media. I am so antisocial. Like, I'm just totally different. And I just, know that I'm supposed to do something. And it's just like, I don't know what it's going to be, but it's a little nerve wracking, because I don't really want to do anything.
It's interesting, you know, as someone that was in the background very much. So again, I'll go back to design. I'm an artist, right? So I was in a performing arts elementary school, and in that school there was a music division and an art division. I'm in the art division. The music division would put on concerts and plays, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm in the art division, and we're doing the stage sets. We're pulling the curtains, uh, and behind the scenes, I felt I felt absolutely great behind the scenes. Right, it's where I feel at home. Right, and I don't need my face to be seen. Um, but I'm at the helm of making sure the components that make the show, part of the components that make the show work, are there. So there was a role designed specifically for me. I would say that when you're in a situation, Tanika, when you know that there's a role for you know the difference between where you could excel or you being in that position would improve things, right? So you, even in sitting there and maybe not stepping into that position at that moment, you can tell the difference. And if it plays out where it says, well, Dad, well, I would have did blah, blah, blah. And if I did blah, blah, you're saying in your thoughts, I know this could have been better. I know if you're hearing that voice, might be time to step into that.
I understand.
Look, how you do it? You said step into it, Khalid. Look, step in. But look, so I'm listening to you guys. I love it. I love it. I love every bit of it. So I want to share some with you. This part of my growth, right? So as you all know, that I'm a chef. So I was doing a free function, because I wanted to get my stuff out there. With people tasting my food and getting just like basically a promotion. So this is part of my leadership. I had to learn. I wasn't always this way. I had to grow into my leadership. Um, I was doing it at my father's house, and he was frying the fish for me, and I had spoke to him in a certain tone. He had flipped out on me. He's like, "Who are you talking to? I'm your father." But when I look back at the situation, I realized that as a leader, I cannot speak that way to him or anybody. You know what I'm saying? Even though he's my father, and that's what we talk about, and how you talk to people. You know, I spoke to him in a way that, it was kind of like disrespectful. But I would never disrespect my father publicly, privately, but that's how he received it, in a disrespectful way. And so what I'm saying is, as a leader, these are the things that we have to be mindful. So I say that to say that, as a leader, we always have to be watchful of what we do, how we carry ourselves, because there are always somebody watching, especially when you're professing Christ. You know, there's listen, they want to see you fall. And when you're doing something that you're not supposed to do, the first thing they do, they want to, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. You a man of God. I accept that. And so I try to walk the straight and narrow as much as possible. If I make a mistake, I'm humble enough to say, you know what, I'm sorry, I didn't do that right. Please forgive me. It took some time for me to grasp that. Even sometimes when I don't want to say sorry to somebody, I still have to go do it. Even when I'm wrong, I have to go do that. And it took some time for me to understand it. But I knew that I was called to do that once I became a father. I wasn't always that didn't have that mindset. But I realized that, my children look at me, my wife, my coworkers, friends, family, you know, then some of them, look at me and say, man, they see how I change, but change for the good. It's better. I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? I love. Look, I'm not a cocky person. I used to be. Now, Khalif would say that. I look when it comes to basketball, I was like, yo, let's get it. But now I'm older. It's like I really don't have the energy to be trying to prove something to somebody that I'm better. Look, listen, if I'm good at it, I'm good at it. If you want to be better than me, so be it. You know what I mean? And I root you on. Oh, you're better than me. Because so for me now, it's like that's negative energy, and I don't have space for the negative energy. It's all positive. So if we playing or we doing something, I would talk a little trash, but I'm not trying to bash and make somebody feel, bad or anything like that. So, that was just a testimony for me because, that listen, when I look back at my life and all the things that I've done and how I speak to people, it's important for me to make sure that I say the right thing and the correct thing because sometimes you could say something and I promise you could never take it back. That person can say, "Oh, yeah, I forgive you," but guess what? That memory, that moment you said that, they will always remember that. You know what I'm saying? Some people say that verbal abuse is just as bad as physical, and I feel like the words that come out your mouth, it's like a nightmare that's over and over and over, and they'll never forget that. And and that's why I'm always conscious of the things that I say to people. Um, and I just want to share that with you guys because that's a leader for me. I mean, I know I'm in that leadership because guess what? There are a lot of people who watch me, make sure what I'm saying, what I'm doing, how I'm moving. You know what I'm saying? And then I got if I do something wrong and they come to me, I gotta be able to justify it to them because guess what? What I'm preaching and what I'm talking about, they're like, man, listen, I don't want to hear what you got to say because you fake, you phony, you're not being real. But I'm always real. Whether you accept it or not, I'm always going to be real. And I'm a stand-up guy. You know what I'm saying? I'm not perfect. I'm not saying I'm perfect. But as a leader, that's what these things we definitely got to do. Tanika, you want to say something?
No, I'm glad that you said all that because you're right. It's like, okay, so I wanted to add something. Earlier we were talking about knowing self. I kind of looked at it as knowing yourself. When you're able to talk to people and know within yourself that what you're saying is basically good, you know, not for an intention of hurting or, making yourself more, profitable, but it's a good equal amount. And there's a communication style that we need to learn how to give other people when we are trying to be kind, because we're just rude as hell. We don't really talk to people. Has to do with starting with leadership. I know that we are talking about it starts within ourselves, but once you know yourself and you are able to raise children, I think it's all about raise our children, like how we are talking to our children. We really need to learn how to bring up better children. I'm sorry. I have to say that because I am seeing so much negativity when it comes to the youth or the lack of care. And, I think that we just have to learn how to communicate so that our children can grow into a better leader, in the right direction. We are sitting up here raising people every day by our actions and how we communicate. So I feel like, leadership is, when you mention stewardship, it's every day. Every day you walk out the house, you are a leader. You are putting something out to the world, some way, somehow. And I feel like we as people need to talk differently. That's basically what I'm saying. So that was all my point. That was my point. That was all I was
Well
saying.
said. Well said.
But well, when you say uh leaders of this new school, it starts within the home. And I can say this honestly, say no, west, east, mid east, all that good stuff. Listen, it's what they watching on TV that feeds their mind, because of some of the stuff that's on TV now. If they're not watching that, I guarantee you they wouldn't know half of the things that's going on in the world. That's on top of what's going on in school. But you got the fashion. The kids are, oh, I got the Gucci on, I got the Prada on. You going to school, things like that. That's I think that's like making our kids grow up faster. Not knowing what life is all about.
Well,
They
you're
can
right.
care less about education. Some, not all, but let's look at the majority. You know what I'm saying? Let's look at the crime rate. Let's look at what's going on the internet. You know, what you can find on the internet. It's everything is about sex. If it ain't sex, it's toxicity. It's negativity. You don't really hear people talking about. You do if you're a person of faith. You'll go to a platform where they're talking about God. But when you look at the whole the Facebook, Instagram, and who you following, all those type of things. These kids are getting this information and think that's part of life. Let's think that's cool. It's fun, you know, to be up in a club or something.
But that's the thing. We are raising our children in that manner. You know, how we are giving our children, if we're not given the time. So when my daughters were young, I would take them to the library. I would do things with them. They were in activities. We don't do that no more. We are not really present with our children type of thing, present with our people type of thing. We do have our technology, and that technology is not very good for us. You mentioned it, I know. But that's the thing, we have to learn how to, deal with one another in a loving manner. I mean, because leadership is all about that, in a loving manner. Because if you want to hate and you want to put fear out there, because that is what we're dealing with in this world. Fear, fear, fear. It's all out here. And that leadership of fear, it's a disaster. It's just like, going down and just tumbling down a hill and bruising yourself forever. So I know what you're saying, but I feel like the whole leadership thing, it starts within, but it also has to be with everybody. Like, I mean, we don't have good leaders out here no more. We don't have anybody like y'all mentioned Martin Luther King, and I thought Malcolm X was a good leader too. These type of people are not there. Or they're there, but they're not really present. Maybe that's it. Do we have any good leaders? Anybody? Anybody? No.
I'm hopeful.
You're
I'm
hopeful.
hopeful that we've got good leaders. As a matter of fact, I absolutely believe we've got good leaders. However, to some of the points that have been made about social media, I think social media and media itself is designed to occupy all empty space in your mind and
Ah,
turn you into an ultimate full-time consumer. To I think we need to understand what we're up against and deploy countermeasures that are equal and opposite to how the saturation that social media has on our minds. It's not television, it's in our pocket. And we are compelled, the algorithm knows what you tend to click into, and it shows you the images that tickle your fancy. So the moment that you pick up your phone and you said, I'm going to look up my shopping list, and you get a notification about that thing that you just love, and it just comes across your phone, for the next 20 minutes, you're thumbing through eye candy, whatever your particular brand of eye candy was, that's strategically designed to occupy your mind, space, and time. That's not to say there's not an effective leader out there. That's to say we got to understand what we're up against and fight that.
But let me say this. We are coming into a world of technology, and our children are dealing in technology. So
Mhm.
technology is going to be very profound in our
Mhm.
lives
Mhm.
for our children. And
Mhm.
so how do you lead, in a technological world?
Mhm.
That's very, very difficult. I feel like this whole, life that we're living is brand new to us, because we've never been in this situation where we're holding information in our hand and we can find anything we really want. I mean, depending on where you're at, because
Mhm.
everybody gives you different information depending on where you live. So, point is, you know, it's just like it's very different. We're going to have a different type of world and a different type of people.
Mhm.
I love the fact that we're talking about leadership, and I think that you're right. There are good leaders out there, definitely. It's just I would love to see more of them. We really talk about them and really have that love, and we kind of unite in a way that makes beauty happen. We haven't had it in a long time.
Mhm.
I think because I'm raising, my wife and I are raising two kids now, and I think like social media, like every other technological device or whatever it is, I think they're tools.
Mhm.
And like a chef's knife, you can use a chef's knife to contribute in making a beautiful meal,
Mhm.
or you can use a chef's knife to harm someone.
Mhm.
And so I think where often the miss in all of it is the education part of it. It's teaching people how to use the tool to better the environment, to better the community, to better whatever skill set that they hold and gifts that they have. Um, because technology is not going anywhere, right? We're using it right now, but we're using this tool as a way to better and to educate those that may be tuning in. Without it, we would have to go a different route. And so I think it's understanding the tools that are constantly advancing, being sensitive to the degree it can either help or harm someone or a community of people, um, and understanding that sensitivity, understanding that when Chef Dennis teaching someone young how to use a chef's knife and getting that trust that this is a very sensitive tool, and as a potential chef, you have to understand how to use this tool to better your skill set. You've got to keep it sharp. You've got to keep it in a bag. You've got to always carry it with the blade pointing down. You've got to teach people how to use, because social media and artificial intelligence and all these other things can be used to benefit lives, and they can be used to educate our youth or our potential leaders, or it can be used to exploit. It can be used to harm. It can be used to tear people down with your Twitter fingers because you're not bold enough to say this in person, but you'll put it on a comment. And so I think it's our responsibility as current leaders and future leaders to learn these tools and to educate our youth and how to utilize this very sensitive chef's knife, because you can hurt someone or you can help someone, because there's always going to be something, right? Time is constantly evolving, whether it's going to be social media or now this wave of AI that you can use to plagiarize or you can use to benefit something that's already existing. So I think that's where the education and that's where the village comes from. I think in some aspects we've lost touch of the village that exists. I'm not raising my kids. My entire village is raising my kids, but it's up to me to choose who's going to be in my village. I don't want this person in my village, but I want that person in my village, right? I always teach my staff, if you're a boxer, because I got Mike Tyson back there, who's in who's in your corner? Who's your cut man? Who's your medic? Who's your trainer? You go out in the middle of the ring and you fight, and then at some point you got to go back to your corner. Who do you want in your corner? Who do you want to educate you? Who do you want to teach you to where that you, when you do go out in that middle ring, you're well prepared. And so I think it's a bigger call on us of this generation to teach our youth, because if not, the world will teach them, and the world doesn't always teach you the greatest things. So it's partly us, because there's a lot of brilliant youth out there. But I think with social media, it just multiplied everything by 25 million. And so before, you just look at the radio, right? Before, there were about 5 different radio stations that the common person was listening to, and you got to listen to the same 10 songs over and over and over. But now with Spotify, with Apple Music, with all these other, it's a big, huge pool of talent and some not talented. So you have to seek out to get some of these things. Whereas before there was one and that's all you heard of. We didn't hear about all the killings before. We didn't hear about all these other things that was happening before because we didn't have access. We didn't have this accessibility to hear. But now I open up my phone and it's every killing, every mass shooting, every this, it's all right there in front of me. And so now we have to know how to teach our kids in this climate, because all those things exist. It's not going anywhere, and it's only going to get more advanced. So now we've got to teach them how to navigate through this life with social media, with AI, with all these different things.
Right. As we carefully navigate. Go ahead.
No, sorry, Khalif. I was going to tell you guys, Khalif is he's going to have to leave out at 7:30. Before you leave, Khalif, I wanted to say to you, I really appreciate you coming out. It was great, and I just wanted to say, man, it's so good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while myself, so I just wanted to say that before you break out.
Hey man, it's been a pleasure. I'm great to have the opportunity to show up and support in this way. Much success to what you're doing here, as I think you got a positive movement here. And I hope as we talk about social media and what's happening on social media, that this continues to be a voice for good.
Yes.
So again, thank you. Good to meet you, Tanika and Maza.
Pleasure's on mine. It's thank you.
Yes, it was wonderful.
It's been a pleasure.
All right, take care. I don't know how.
All right, buddy.
I know how to leave though.
No, you can. You can. No, Charlie, you can just leave. Yeah, you can close it out.
All right, y'all have a good one.
All right,
you too.
So, I wanted to say to you guys that I wanted to share something with you. Look, so we talk about the social media and everything. It's like this for me, and I think I told Tanika one time before, how I prepare myself to get up in the day, early in the morning, how I start my day. I start to listen to my gospel music when I'm at work. I start at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm listening to my gospel music. I'm prepping myself up. You know what I'm saying? Nothing but, I'm pouring into my spirit positive energy. You know what I'm saying? Nothing negative. I'm just pouring it, and I'm just getting myself prepared, because sometimes when you go out there, in the midst of the storm, the devil is trying to destroy. So that's how I do it. And just to piggyback off what Khalid said. So even with YouTube or anything on social media, if you're like, I watch a lot of gospel singers, right? So I might be scrolling, going through, something spiritual will come up on my TikTok, my Instagram, because that's what I'm constantly looking at. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what he was talking about. That's how social media works. You don't even know they're getting your information, and they know the things that you like to look at. So they'll send you an ad. They'll put something up there on your social media that you enjoy, that they see you constantly watching. So that is something key too, is the things you watch on social media, things you watch on TV. It's all connected, because remember, everything that you're watching on TV, anything, your phone, it's all connected through an email. And the email tracks back to you, so they have everything they need to sell you. So whatever it is that you're watching, whatever it is you're buying, they can always sell it to you hidden, because they have a hidden agenda. They want to buy whatever they're selling, and that's key to what you're watching on TV, on your iPad, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So like you said, like he said, be mindful of the things that you're putting in your spirit and you're watching, because guess what? That's beyond our pay grade. They know how to get to us. They know how to get to our minds through social media.
Yeah.
You said something to me?
Yeah, but I want to see a better world for us, as a people, united more, being more like, having unity. I would love to see that, because that's what good leadership is all about when it comes to getting people together. And that is something that I miss a lot. Growing up, I saw unity when I was growing up, and because maybe I was young, and being around family, that was the unity. But now it's like the world has changed, and leaders are not really out there. I don't see it. I don't hear it. Like I'm sorry. Don't. Okay, now let's not say preachers. Okay, we're not going to say preachers. I'm not going to put preachers in it, because preachers' platforms has changed throughout the years. We have mega churches. We have preachers that are being seen more than ever. So this is like a celebrity thing. But to talk to everybody, to be able to have a leadership that you are able to talk to all types of people, it can be difficult. So, I mean, I'm just like, this world's going to be different. That's how I just see it. You know, this is it's a technological world, and we now are doing something we've never done before, and having to lead people that are into technology every day.
You want to say something, Miles?
No. You good? You
Oh,
good?
look. So let me show you something, Tanika. You know how I met Mazda?
Yeah.
Huh?
No.
I met him at family reunion, right?
Yeah.
But and this is I'm speaking this over your life, and you can say whatever. I'm just saying this. You're just like me, and but you don't know it, you don't understand it yet, but you are. I'm gonna show you why I say that. It's because look, this is how it all started. I went to my grandmother's funeral, right? And something compelled me. Now there were people at the funeral that I never met. I have not met them. I was at that time. I was, I want to say 45. I'm 47. I never met them. Some compel me to get up and say, "Listen, I don't know you guys here, but what I want to do is I want to open up a relationship starting now. So anybody that wants to have a relationship with me, I want that relationship. Can you let's exchange numbers?" So we exchanged numbers, and what happened was when I exchanged those numbers, some of the people really wanted that relationship. I got to know them. I went to the family reunion. I did the same thing. But the spirit of discernment allowed me to speak to certain people, come in contact, and that's how I got his number. You know what I'm saying? Because listen, I want to spread the love. I want to do things great that God has called me to do, and He put him in my life as well. You know what I'm saying? Just like George. I said his name, but him too. You know what I'm saying? And you like that? You in your little shell. You coming out though. You gonna
Reluctant.
come out.
Reluctant.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, Ma, she coming out. And look, she coming out because look, I told her. I said, listen, I love you, but they say what they say, like minds hang together, right?
Right. Right.
She don't understand. She got a fire inside of her that she just trying to hold back.
No, I'm learning. Right now, it's my
Okay,
journey.
I
I'm
respect
learning
that.
how to speak. I'm learning
There you
because
go.
I do not know how to speak. You know what the spirit says, but there is my ego also, and my ego speaks differently, and I have to learn how to balance that. That's what we're basically talking about. It's a balance of knowing how to deal with people and managing our ego, because that ego and that good and bad is going to be there. Spirit's going to be there, and ego's going to be there. Where we say that's the devil trying to talk to you, tell you to do and say things. So I'm learning how to be better as a person. And, this is a journey. I love it though. I accept the fact that this is me meeting new people. Maza, I love that you are doing a leadership. Tell us again about it. What were you saying about your leadership program that you're doing? Because I'm going to put you on spot.
No. Hey, put me on the spot. No, so it's a podcast that a good friend of mine and I are doing, and it's called Leading the Way. So it hasn't launched yet. We have 6 episodes that are fully recorded, and we're just working through the logistics of it all. But it will launch soon, and I'll be sure to let you know. And I know I have to go soon because I got to pick up my kids from
Oh,
school. But I do want to touch bases on 2 things that you said really quick. One, that if you were to look around you, what you'll see is that there's a lot of people just like you walking on their own journey. And some people have been walking for 5 miles, and some people have been walking for 100 miles, and some people just joined the track. They just put their shoes on. And so we're all on this journey trying to figure out
Yeah.
how we can best impact and how, the best versions of ourselves we can be. So just keep walking that journey and just keep moving forward, because there's a destination that's specifically tailored for you. And as
yes.
long as you stay on that journey, you will reach that destination. And then secondly,
Look, I'm sorry, Mother. You know why I got this hand up?
What's that?
Yeah.
Don't let my hand look, Tanique.
What?
Don't let my hand go. I got you.
Okay.
We got you. We got
Bro,
you.
We got
We
you.
made this. Hey, we made this connection for a reason. So just
That's it.
keep moving forward. And the leadership thing, I think there's an assignment, and based off of, and I'm going to touch on the spiritual side of this. We don't know the workings of God and what his plan is, and God has a vision for the world, for our community, for ourselves, and how he wants the world to move. And I think there was a time where we needed MLK, we needed Malcolm X, we needed these leaders, because the world literally and figuratively was in black and white. And you had a group of individuals on this side and a group of individuals on that side, and people like Martin Luther King was gifted to bring unity within our communities. And I think we live in a different time now where we may need, and I don't have the answers, but we may, I used to have a pastor that used to say, using my sanctified imagination, we may need more community leaders in this climate, in this day and time, than we did back then. The MLKs of yesterday may not be as impactful or influential in this day and time with everything that exists. And so we need more Tanikas. We need more Khalees. We need more of the home leaders because it was a time where you could probably go into 10 different homes and get 2 different lifestyles. Whereas now you go to 10 different homes, you're going to get 10 different lifestyles.
Tell me about
and how that home is functioned. And so the more community leaders and the more home leaders that we have, I think the better we will move as a community and ultimately as a nation. So continue to stay encouraged, and continue to let your light shine, and continue to fulfill the role that you feel God has established for you, because it'll only make this world a better place.
Yes, it will.
Thank you. Such a blessing. This was a great conversation, y'all.
It was. It really was. It really was. And I hate to cut my. I love it. I love it. I do. But I also gotta fulfill my role as a father. I gotta pick up my kids. Before my wife be coming in here and be like, the kids gotta get picked up. So.
I know. Look, it was great. Listen, we gonna head out of here. Listen, Maz, you can check us out on Wednesday and Friday. We 6:30 same time. If you got time, you always welcome to come on through, man. Always.
It won't be the last. It won't be the last. I can guarantee you.
And listen, Wednesday is gonna be real. I'm serious, man. Wednesday gonna be juicy too. I'm gonna
jump in there.
Yeah. Hey man, listen. I'm telling you, it's gonna be real good. I'm serious.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna tag you in on it.
Okay, we'll do.
All right. Yep.
Nice to meet you.
Talk to you later.
You too.
All right,
appreciate it. All love.
Yep. All right.